This is what collapse looks like. A regional war is erupting. Missiles are flying across the Gulf, oil choke points are closing, children are dead, and the President of the United States is spiraling in real time. Donald Trump is not projecting strength. He is projecting panic. Iranian Shahed drones are smashing into residential buildings in Bahrain. Ballistic missiles are striking Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and the United Arab Emirates. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow artery carrying nearly 20% of the world's oil and gas supply, is reportedly being sealed off, threatening catastrophic economic shockwaves before markets even open. 85 little girls are dead after U.S.-Israeli airstrikes hit an elementary school in Minab, Iran. 85. Let that sink in. And as the region is igniting, Trump is canceling a promised address to the nation. He is disappearing from the podium. Instead, he is posting a late-night social media video in a baseball cap, casually shrugging that, in wars, soldiers die, telling the Iranian people, maybe this is what you wanted. That is not resolve. That is grotesque indifference. Those are incriminating admissions from a man who is realizing the fire he lit is now burning beyond his control. 200 fighter jets, 500 targets, the largest air assault in Israeli history. Retaliation spreading outward. The White House is gaslighting. The region is destabilizing. And Donald Trump is unraveling. Now let's talk about the lies. Because this didn't just happen. This wasn't some unavoidable lightning strike from history. This was built on gaslighting, magical thinking, and outright deception. For months, Trump and his allies were insisting this was about one thing only: stopping Iran from enriching uranium. That was the public line. That was the talking point repeated on cable news. Imminent threat, nuclear danger, we have no choice. But here's the problem. Iran, through Omani mediation, agreed to halt enrichment discussions and continue diplomatic talks. The foreign minister of Oman was actively negotiating between the United States and Iran. There were more talks scheduled. A diplomatic process was underway. And then, in the middle of that process, the strikes happened. Let that sink in. They were negotiating, and Trump struck anyway. Now, suddenly the narrative shifts. Suddenly, it's not about uranium. Suddenly, it's about regime change. Suddenly, it's about removing the Ayatollah. That's not defense. That's escalation. Let's look at what Trump himself said years ago, because the receipts are devastating. Back in 2012 and 2013, Trump repeatedly claimed that President Obama would attack Iran just to look tough before an election. He said it over and over again. He warned that a president might start a war with Iran to boost political standing. Now fast forward, 200 fighter jets, 500 targets, the largest air assault in Israeli Air Force history with U.S. involvement under Trump's watch. You cannot make this up. He ran in 2024 on the so-called pro-peace ticket. Trump and J.D. Vance branding themselves as anti-war, America first, no more endless conflicts. That was the pitch. And now what are we seeing? Regional war spreading across Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. The Strait of Hormuz possibly closing. U.S. assets struck. $1 billion radar facility in Bahrain reportedly destroyed by Iranian drones. This is not what was sold to voters. And then there's the Disappearing Act. He was expected to address the nation. It was reported widely. Then it's canceled. Then the White House claims it was never planned. Gaslighting 101. Instead of transparency, we get a casual late-night video. Soldiers may die. That happens in war. That's not leadership. That's detachment. This isn't just contradiction. This is a pattern. Say one thing, do another, blame everyone else. And now the consequences are exploding across an entire region. Now let's go deeper, because when you strip away the slogans and the macho posturing, the actual details are even more disturbing. Let's start with what is physically happening on the ground. We are seeing confirmed reports that Iranian Shahed drones have struck residential buildings in Bahrain, not military outposts, residential structures, families, civilians. This is escalation spiraling outward in real time. Now look at this next detail. I'm reading from the operational summary released following the joint U.S.-Israeli strike. It states the operation involved over 200 fighter jets attacking approximately 500 targets, and it is being described as the largest attack in Israeli Air Force history. 200 jets, 500 targets. That is not a limited defensive maneuver. That is a full-spectrum air assault. And here's where it gets even more reckless. Let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 20% of the global oil and gas supply moves through that narrow waterway. Reports and intercepted communications are indicating that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is warning ships over radio frequencies that no vessels are permitted to pass. If that strait is effectively closed, even temporarily, you are looking at immediate global economic shock. Energy markets don't wait. Insurance markets don't wait. Shipping lanes don't wait. You are talking about cascading consequences that hit working families worldwide within days. This is not theoretical. This is happening. Now let's examine the most horrific element. An elementary school in Minab, Iran, a girls' school, was struck during the air campaign. The death toll is reported at 85. Mostly children, mostly little girls. 85. Pause there. Whatever one thinks of the Iranian regime, and let's be clear, it is a brutal regime. Children are not regime change targets. Civilians are not bargaining chips. And here's the strategic insanity layered on top of the moral catastrophe. The CIA had previously assessed that even if the supreme leader were eliminated, he would simply be replaced, likely by a more hardline extremist from within the Islamic Revolutionary Guard structure. Let me repeat that. Even if you remove the Ayatollah, the system replaces him with someone potentially more radical. So what exactly is the endgame here? Because if the public justification was uranium enrichment, and negotiations were ongoing, and Iran had agreed to halt further enrichment discussions pending talks, then why strike in the middle of diplomacy? Why escalate to regime change rhetoric? This is magical thinking. This is the belief that dropping more bombs automatically produces stability. It doesn't. It produces retaliation. And we are seeing that retaliation. U.S. radar installations in Bahrain reportedly hit. Billion-dollar systems damaged. Drones targeting high-visibility locations like the Palm District in Dubai, the symbolic heart of regional commerce and tourism. This is not contained. This is spreading. Meanwhile, Senator Mark Warner, after receiving classified briefings, states publicly that he has seen no evidence of an imminent Iranian threat to the United States. No imminent threat. That matters. Because under both domestic constitutional principles and international law, preemptive war requires imminent danger, not speculative future risk. Not maybe someday, imminent. Experts have been saying that any direct Iranian nuclear threat was still years away. Years. Yet strikes occur now, during diplomacy, during mediation by Oman. Gross. And while this is unfolding, Trump is delivering late-night social media monologues about how casualties happen in war. He is not outlining objectives. He is not explaining a strategy. He is not addressing the nation with clarity. He is projecting fatalism. That is not command presence. That is a leader hoping events justify his gamble after the fact. You cannot bomb your way into legitimacy. You cannot destabilize a region and call it peace. And you cannot pretend this was inevitable when diplomatic channels were still open. This is what reckless escalation looks like when ego overrides strategy. And the region is absorbing the shock in real time. Now step back and look at the pattern. Because this is not an isolated miscalculation. This is not a one-off error in judgment. This is the culmination of years of instability, impulsiveness, and disastrous decision-making that always ends the same way. Chaos for everyone else. Donald Trump has always governed by impulse, by ego, by grievance, and now that impulse is colliding with geopolitics. We are watching a president who has a documented history of ranting and raving, veering off script, confusing allies with enemies, and treating foreign policy like a reality television episode. He is speaking in late-night social media bursts while missiles are flying. He is minimizing casualties as what happens. That isn't stoicism, that's detachment bordering on indifference. And this fits the broader collapse pattern. Remember Trump steaks? Gone. Trump Airlines? Gone. Trump casinos? Bankrupt. The so-called business genius left a trail of failed ventures, unpaid contractors, shuttered properties, and lawsuits. The branding was always bigger than the substance. Now scale that mindset up to global conflict. You cannot run international security like a licensing deal. You cannot apply casino logic to nuclear diplomacy. And yet, that is exactly what this feels like. High risk, high chaos gambling with other people's lives. Let's talk elections. He ran as the pro-peace candidate. America first. No new wars. End the endless wars. That slogan was plastered across campaign rallies, shared endlessly online. Voters were told he would keep America out of foreign entanglements. Instead, what are we seeing? A multi-country regional flare-up, retaliatory strikes across the Gulf, U.S. military assets being targeted, oil choke points threatened, civilian casualties mounting, global markets bracing. That is not peace. That is a disastrous reversal. And politically, special elections over the past cycles have not exactly been a show of strength for the MAGA movement. Polling has shown erosion among independents and suburban voters, fatigue, exhaustion, a sense that the drama never ends. This is not stabilizing that perception. This amplifies it. Because voters may tolerate bluster. They may even tolerate chaos theatrics. But when the chaos starts threatening gas prices, retirement accounts, supply chains, when it becomes personal, patience evaporates. And here's the deeper issue. When you have a leader who thrives on grievance and spectacle, escalation becomes tempting. Conflict becomes useful. Crisis becomes leverage. But crisis has consequences. You cannot keep lighting fires and assume you control the wind. And that is what this feels like. A presidency mistaking disruption for dominance. This moment, missiles in the sky, diplomacy abandoned midstream, economic arteries threatened, is not strength. It is a flashing warning sign. This is not a single misstep. This is the culmination of magical thinking meeting geopolitical reality, and reality is pushing back. This is the difference between truth and propaganda, between strategy and ego, between leadership and reckless improvisation. A region is destabilizing. Diplomacy was underway, civilian lives have been shattered, global markets are bracing, and instead of clarity, we are getting gaslighting. Instead of accountability, we are getting indifference. This cannot become normal. We cannot allow magical thinking, grievance politics, and impulsive escalation to define American foreign policy. Democracy requires transparency. War demands justification. And power requires restraint. If there was no imminent threat, the American people deserve to know. If diplomacy was active, we deserve answers. And if lives are being risked based on ego-driven calculation, that must be confronted. History is watching this moment. So are voters. If you believe in accountability, if you believe facts still matter, hit subscribe. Help grow this channel. Independent media is not a luxury right now. It's a necessity. Stay informed, stay engaged, because democracy does not defend itself.